The issue that you've raised about the background checks relate directly to what you said about the assault weapons ban. It's not the loopholes, it's the problem that once you start looking at how easy it is to get around it, you would literally have to ban every semi-automatic rifle that's sold in America. Fair enough.
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
So for those of you who don't know, CNN held this town hall for politicians like Marco Rubio and the kids and parents involved in the Florida shooting. And that clip right there basically summed up how it went. It was basically just one big slaughter fest on gun control. Everybody was pushing gun control left and right. It was really just a nightmare. And this picture right here with Marco Rubio, I think represents the situation pretty well. For those of you who don't know, Marco Rubio is quite a crowd pleaser. He will do basically whatever he can to please the crowd, as you can see in that clip. He's basically saying you would literally have to ban every semi-automatic in the United States, and you'd have to be stupid to think that. That's basically what he's saying, but in like kind of politer terms. And the crowd goes nuts, like, yeah, ban all semi-automatics. And Marco Rubio's like, oh, for fuck's sake, you guys are retarded. But he says, you know what, fair enough. And it's part of his crowd-pleasing attribute he has. And so a lot of the times you'll see him flip his political opinions in the middle of a rally like this. And after that, you actually see it pretty well. I'll play the clip right now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That is a valid position to hold. But my colleagues do not support banning every semi-automatic rifle sold in America.
At first, he's like, the problem is that if you really want to prevent everything, you would have to ban all semi-automatics, and you'd have to be retarded to think that's a valid option. And then the crowd goes nuts, like, yeah, ban all semi-automatics, and then he goes, alright, fine, that's a valid point. And then, right after that, he's like, but my colleagues won't support it. That is dirty, Rubio. That is absolutely dirty. You totally flipped sides on this, and then said, well, but my colleagues won't support it, so... But he does say, fair enough, that's a valid position to hold. And what I have to say to that is no, that is in no way, shape, or form a valid position to hold. Absolutely not. You would basically have to not know what a semi-automatic gun is in order to think that is a valid position. Basically every gun besides maybe a revolver that you can buy in the United States is semi-automatic. Anything that when you pull the trigger, a bullet comes out, and another one is loaded into the chamber automatically. That's a semi-automatic rifle. And everything besides maybe a revolver or maybe some shotguns, other than that, no, they're all semi-automatic, basically. And the idea that you're going to ban them, you're insane to think that's a good option. You would basically be repealing the Second Amendment. And other than that, if you think that banning semi-automatic guns is going to save lives, you are quite wrong. Try marching down into Texas and taking all of their semi-automatic guns. How many people do you think are going to die? Even anywhere, there's going to be a civil war if you try doing that. Either side of the spectrum, it's just not going to happen, and that's a reality that people need to realize.
Do you know that it is not federally required for states to actually report people who are prohibited possessors, crazy people, people who are murderers? No? We've been actually talking about that for a long time. Let me answer the question. Let me answer the question. You can shout me down when I'm finished, but let me answer Emma's question. It is not federal law for states to report convictions to the NICS system. It's not federally mandated. That's the big question, and I wish that this network had also covered this more as other media networks would have covered it. That's a huge, wait a second,
Number one, we have to, you're right, we have to take weapons out of the hands of people that suffer from mental illness. We have to expand the Baker Act. We have to be able, when police encounter someone, Emma, when police encounter someone who is going through a mental illness, we don't only have to wait, or we shouldn't have to wait until they are a danger to themselves or someone else. We should be able to take them to an institution that's going to examine them and take weapons away from them right then and there at that time.
And Sheriff.
That is an example of how ignorant that crowd at the town hall was. She said the exact same thing the sheriff said. Yet she was shut down, and the sheriff was given applause. I don't think that people were necessarily listening to policy here and what they were saying. I think they were more just cheering when someone with the same political views as them said something cool. And that wasn't all. There was also some kid that went up there and talked to Marco Rubio and said some just immoral things to him, some horrendous things to him. You should hear. It was the kid on the left you see in this picture here. He just went up there and...
Senator Rubio, it's hard to look at you and not look down the barrel of an AR-15 and not look at Nicholas Cruz. But I wish I could have asked the NRA lady a question. I wish the NRA lady I could have talked to, because I would ask her how she can look in the mirror, considering the fact that she has children, but, you know, maybe she avoids
What
those.
is that? I'm sorry?
I don't freaking know.
That's okay.
Alright, those are some just disgusting things to say. You could hear in his voice he was basically blaming the shooting on those two people. He was comparing Marco Rubio to a school shooter, and then basically called the quote-unquote NRA lady to a child murderer. I understand that you went through a trauma a few days ago, and some stuff happened in your life, and you may be traumatized by it. But that doesn't make it right for you to go up on stage and start insulting people like this, and while at the same time asking that they help you out. If I was there, I would have booed him off stage. That's what I would have done. I don't care what the people around me were doing. I would have booed him. I don't care what side you are on either. You don't just go up there and insult people like that. That's not going to accomplish anything. There is nothing Marco Rubio or the quote-unquote NRA lady could have done to prevent this shooting, and they are not responsible for it at all. The rest of the town hall went like that. It wasn't really anything too productive. It was politicians being politicians, and the crowd just being one-sided opinions and not accepting anything. But I just want to get that out there. It was an example of how things like this aren't really achieving much. They're only causing more problems and pushing a wedge to divide the country. Because whenever someone offers a real solution, it doesn't matter what type of solution it is, it depends on the party you're in.